Okay, everybody, thank you for being here today. I'm Doug Ottmar. I'm not running for mayor, but Vince Malfitano is running for mayor of Monterey. And this is a good opportunity for you to ask questions and for him to tell his story. And take it away, guys.
All right, thanks for coming. I want to thank Councilmember Ed Smith for being here. It's a big deal to get him out.
I had a question. Is it true Ed Smith is a jerk?
No, that's a rumor, and I don't know who started it. But we're going to find out.
They probably went to jail.
And we're going to drag him in the streets.
You're going to have to tell everybody that.
So, the rumor is true. I'm Vince Malfitano, and I am running for mayor in this cycle. I've been coerced and asked by the people in the business community to step in, hopefully, and use about 40 plus years of business experience to try to solve some of the issues that are going on. And Monterey has some issues going on. I'm glad Ed's here because I want to point out something that's very, very important that I think gets overlooked. First of all, let me begin by saying, when I speak about things that might not be going right now, I'm not putting it on one person, I'm putting it on an administration over a long period of time. These issues that we have right now didn't start yesterday, they actually started years ago. From what I can tell back in 18. Been a Monterey resident since '94, full-time, probably the last 10 or 12 years, because I've been out and about doing different ventures, business things. Let's see, short thumbnail. I practiced dentistry for about 20 years in the Bay Area, had my own private practice, got bored with that, and then started developing assisted living facilities. I built one in Antioch, California for my mom and dad and Rose's mom and dad. And then branched out to Monterey because I thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have a market rate facility here in the hometown? So I did that as well. It's the one on Cass Street. It used to be called Sunrise Assisted Living. We have some press here today, so I'll have to clean up my language. Nah, forget that. What I want you to understand, first of all, before I go into how we're going to fix some things, is that I cast no dispersions on the current mayor. I would go as far as telling you that I consider him a friend. He's a young man, he's very ambitious. So from that point of view, he's done a good job. Fiscally, not so much. And there have been some mistakes made, and mistakes of what I'll call mismanagement. Okay? The problem is, as we've gone through the years, Ed, unfortunately, has had to sit in what's called the minority vote, because there's been a coalition that was developed with the 3 majority vote that unfortunately kept voting for agenda items that really didn't benefit the total community. It may have benefited segments, but not the total community. My goal is to only do things that are going to benefit as many people in the community as we can. I'm sure I won't make everybody happy, but if we can establish a majority of like thinkers to do positive things, that's my goal. Question I'm getting asked 20 times a day. Are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? I'm neither. I'm an independent, and I'll tell you why. I am a registered independent, and I've been that way for a long time. That gives me some advantage, and my advantage is I get to listen to the blue people, and I get to listen to the red people. But I know in my soul, and as you can see now on the national, red and blue isn't getting anything done. They're just locked up for whatever the reasons. That's not my bailiwick. I'm in the center, and my center is always going to be to bring agenda items forward with the help of a strong coalition to do only what's best for Monterey. And again, when I say the residents, I mean inclusively every resident that lives here. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care what group you're with, I don't care what faction you are, I don't care who you like or dislike. I don't care what part of the public discourse you belong in. That doesn't affect me, and it won't affect the way I think. I'm a very independent thinker. I'm not easily swayed. If you want to sway me on something, you really got to bring your A game, because I don't think that I tried to speak before I figure out what the right thing is. I won't always hit the mark, but I'm going to err probably 85% of the time on doing what you would all consider the right thing. The big thing everybody wants to talk about is how the hell did we get into a $10 or $12 million fiscal calamity? That calamity started back in 2018. That's my starting point and my reference when I have been doing my research. And as Ed will tell you, if there's one thing I do, I love to research stuff, because you can get information out in this stratosphere and you can collect that, you can understand it, disseminate it, and then boil it down to what makes sense. And I think that's what I do best. The deficit in 2018 was $600,000 from the calculations that I'm able to pull out. It was probably $1 million in 2020, and it kept growing, it kept growing, it kept growing. And last November of 25, the city decided to say, we got a problem, Houston. And at least that's what it felt like to me. All of a sudden, just bam, there it was. And then there was a bunch of scrambling to do what we would call, hey, how are you, Mayor?
Hi, everybody.
What we would call, that's Mayor Clyde Vogel, one of the best mayors we've had.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Do you guys want to sit here? It's easier for Dottie.
Okay.
There you have that bench.
Thank you for that.
Thank you,
course,
bet. Dottie,
of course.
good to see you.
And you'll be the next best mayor we have.
I can't hold a candle to you, my friend. So my point of view on the deficit is it would have been a lot easier to correct a $1 or $2 million deficit than it is to correct a 10 or 12. It's a big hole. I know it looks bad and it sounds bad. It's getting lots of press. That's all I get asked about. I smell gas. I get asked about this all the time because it's important to the residents. The reason it's important is because now that it's been declared, and the city has declared this state of fiscal emergency, I don't know what's called it.
That's it.
That puts certain processes in play. None of them are good. None of them are good. But this is my position on the deficit. It looks bad, but it's fixable. But plugging that $10 million hole, it can't be a one-time thing. Because although we have this big deficit, we also have another line that shows decreasing revenue stream. Okay? We need to do both at the same time. You know, if we don't increase our revenue and our tax base, it's not going to get better in the short term. We've got to bring in businesses. We've got to do other things. We've got to entice other companies to come here. And I know we can do that. It's just that I don't know that the city has taken a firm stance on actually going out and soliciting that. I know we've got a group that manages the conference centers, and they're probably countrywide, and they go out and they rent that conference center. But we need someone here at home that's going to go find businesses. I don't know if there's a program or if there's a group at the city that does that. I'll find out soon enough. But if there isn't, we're gonna start one. And I've already started picking people that I think have the business acumen to do that. We live in probably, and you guys would agree with me, probably the most beautiful, scenic, historical, environmentally sensitive city on the entire West Coast, bar none. I don't think anything comes close to Monterey, and I've been to most of the other cities on the coast. They've got nothing on us because we have sometimes what they don't have, and it's a very long history. I think that the year that right here, 1770 is when Monterey started, way back when. I wasn't there at the time, but I heard it was a big damn deal. Okay? One of the things I want to accomplish as well, not only are we falling off a little bit fiscally, we're falling off culturally as well. I'm born full-blooded Sicilian. That means I'm raised a certain way. And one of the ways I was raised is to respect the people that came before me. There's a whole group of cultures, Chinese, Japanese, the Sicilians. There are whole clusters of cultures that built this place. And I think that we don't pay them homage enough. And we should. We should. We shouldn't forget, these 200-year-old buildings that are all around us. We're here, so we forget where we're living. Just like I went to school in San Francisco at university for 4 or 5 years. I've never driven a cable car. That's odd because I was there. And you kind of get wrapped up in what you're doing. I don't want to say too much more. But again, I think that there are solutions to the problems that we're in. And I think it's going to take a very firm, a very steady hand that can go in there, build a coalition, do tremendous work collaborating with the new city manager. I have great hopes for Mr. Hall. I think the new mayor has to be joined at the hip, create a good relationship so that when the majority council gives direction to the city manager, it's his bailiwick to go ahead and implement that policy. That's very, very important. This is not a one-man show. It's never been intended to be that way. But I think what we lack today and what we see, if you just look at the council meetings, we see a lack of leadership from the guy in the middle chair. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me. He's not a bad kid. He's a good guy. He just doesn't have the management skills to get us where we need to go in the next 12, 18, 24 months. That's a critical period. I would say to you, in the first 90 days, if I get there, I'm going to put together a select group of influential community members, and we're going to form a group, a team, and we're going to take that budget, and we're going to open it up, and we're going to go through it page by page. Why do I say that's so important? Because we're spending money we don't have. And we've been spending money we don't have for years and years and years. I'll give you an example. It just happened the other night, or an attempt happened the other night. Casanova fire. You all heard about that. Well, the housing authority has been doing a great job trying to put these people in different areas. Phenomenal job. They're running out of money. They came to the city council and had a request for a donation. And the assistant city manager did a great piece of work. He said, look, we have a housing assistance program, and our balance in that is $125 grand. And on council's direction, we will make that donation so that they can do what they need. I thought, that's a great piece of work. My friend stood up and made a motion, and this was the motion. I move we give them $200,000. Wow. I'm sitting back here and I'm thinking, wait, they asked for 125. You're offering them 200. Mr. Smith jumps out of his chair because he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And he says, wait. We don't have money in the general fund. That's the problem. How could you give away money that we don't have? We've identified 125, but you're offering, I remember you, hi. But you're offering 200. and that was wrong. I don't know what the end result was. Was it just 125?
We talked about it for about an hour and 45 minutes, and we settled on 125,000 direction to staff to figure out how to deploy that to the two with housing and the one nonprofit that's going to help them. And we did not take action on, actually it was a proposal of 250,000 for social work, but that did not carry forward. So what carried forward was 125,000 for aid to continue to help placement of the displaced.
So I tell you that just to make a small point about issues of mismanagement. And that was a glaring one. There are other glaring ones. But again, it's not because he's a bad guy. He's not. He's a really good guy. I traveled to Sicily with him, and we had a good time. We made a lot of good contacts. Not even disagreements, but my mindset is different than his because I've been in the trenches for a long time. I've had my butt kicked in private business. It ain't easy. Don't fool yourself. You get bounced around pretty good. But what I've taken from those issues is a real steady hand. You got to stay calm. If you're going to go up the ladder, so to speak, you got to be willing to get kicked in the ass. If you're not, you're in the wrong business. So I did that. I stood tight. I stuck to my guns, and it all worked out pretty well. So now I want to bring that 40 plus years of going through budgets, of going through staff and employment issues, and see if we can't right the ship. I know that we can. I know that we can. But it's going to take, like I say, it's not a one-man show. It should never be a one-man show. But it's got to be a group of really smart people to help us get through this little rigmarole that we're in. How's that sound? Ask me anything you want.
Vince, tell us about how long you've lived in Monterey and your Monterey connections. That's going to come up.
We've had our house in Monterey since '94. My wife's family and mom live here. They were born here. So that family lineage has a very long history. We moved, once I kind of retired from everything, about 10 or 12 years ago, we moved here full time. She has been here longer than I because of her family. But I was still out doing stuff in Nevada and everywhere else. But I would tell you, in her family, the Sicilian culture, those are fishermen from San Vito and Isola della Femmine that came from overseas here and helped build this fishing industry. And you all know about the sardine thing. That's a big deal. Only Monterey can claim that. Only Monterey can claim that phenomenon. And it was a phenomenon. And it sustained a lot of people for a very long time. But, you know, now we just have little signs and books, you know, like that sign on this train station that still says Monterey. To me, that's nostalgia. That should never be taken down because it's part of our history. And it's the same thing with Fisherman's Wharf. When I was a kid and we went to Fisherman's Wharf, there were still guys slinging fish off the ice. And I thought that was the greatest thing. Here's a question. Who remembers Gomez? Gomez the monkey. He was Santa.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know Gomez?
Well, we remember Philip, but he had a lot of different monkeys that we forgot about. But yeah, Philip was a grinder.
Gomez, just so you know, Gomez was a millionaire monkey.
That's right. Oh my God.
But it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that that we've kind of lost track of because we're progressing. The community is becoming more diverse, as it should. Okay, but we still shouldn't lose that culture, that heritage, and certainly the long history that we have. Did I answer your question, Mayor? Thank you, sir.
One question.
Yes, sir.
What was your grade point average in double school?
I think it was 3.4, 3.5. I wasn't the sharpest tack in the shed, but I got through it.
That's okay. So in your dental group, how many people were you supervising at the point when you would call it the highest and most active time? Number of employees?
Yeah, I had 18 employees. I had 2 hygienists, and I was always training 2 new dentists.
Okay.
They wanted to work in the practice. Hi, how are you? So all in, probably 22 at the peak, but that peak lasted a good 8, 10 years. I started working with another dentist in town, and he was kind of a good guy slash bad guy. He says, I'll let you work in my practice, but you can't have any of my patients, but you can see all my midnight emergency calls. So that's what I did, and that's what you're supposed to do. But I built a practice off of that. Everybody asks me, do I miss dentistry? I miss the patients, you know. The work sometimes got tedious, but you form relationships with patients, especially dental patients, because no one wants to come and see you. I've had women say, you know, I'd rather give childbirth than get this tooth filled. And I always say, you gotta be out of your mind. So you do have to build a special rapport with people. You gotta try to relax them. You've gotta calm them down. You've gotta gain their trust in about 5 or 6 minutes so you can put that 5-inch needle in the back of their throat. Same thing with senior housing. I will say of all the things that I've done, the senior housing component was probably the most rewarding. I still feel that way now. And the reason why I do is because in that environment, people are bringing you their moms and dads to care for them because they weren't able to care for them. And the children knew, and I knew that this was going to be their last stop. So it was very rewarding. There were bumps and grinds along the way because sometimes people are hard to please and maybe you didn't meet their expectations or something. But that goes with the territory. But what always happens in private business, even if your staff makes an error, and there's a lawsuit, the owner always gets dragged into that just for being the owner. So it's the nature of the business. If I couldn't withstand that, I would have gotten out. That's a great question. Fire away. Ask me something.
What was the question?
He says he wants to know about the water situation. He is a realtor broker. Patrick does very well in Carmel and on the peninsula. And he's got international clients. And their issue is, what if we want to expand, we want to come here and build something. And he brought up, what are we going to do about water? The water issue has been going on for 40 or 50 years. This didn't happen overnight. You have your Cal-Am folks, you've got competing folks. I would say this, because I think you could put water, workforce housing, and any sort of expansion, you can tie those into a braid, because none of those are going to get solved until you unlock the water piece. It's not going to happen. It's not possible, and it's certainly not going to happen tomorrow. Now, research shows that Cal-Am does have a significant amount of water where they could actually issue permits, water meters. The problem is the state has imposed a cease and desist, and until that is lifted, nothing's going to happen with that water. That's the bad news. I guess there's proposals about desal. There's proposals about, matter of fact, in the Herald today, there was a good article, I'm going to go back and read it again, about some proposed water structure. Water's an issue. It's been an issue. It was an issue when I built Cass Street. I built Cass Street and I didn't have water. And there was no water. And Mayor Albert told me straight up, he says, Vince, I can't stop you from trying to get a building permit, but I can't give you a water meter. So in those days, we're talking back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was tough. I drilled 2 wells on my site because I knew that the water underneath my ground was my water. And I struck potable water, but I was told I couldn't use it by the water people because everybody was watching my project and they said, well, if we could drill a well in our backyard, we can expand and put another bedroom in our house. And the county didn't want that to happen. So they denied my permit for water. Being in not panic mode, but Vinny, you better figure this out quick, because I already had all my underground in the ground. I had sewer. We were starting to cut trees down. So I found there was a regulation in the city books. It said if you own one property and you own this property, if this property has water, you can transfer it over here. So I bought a laundromat and transferred the water. As soon as I did that, they changed the regulation. And I'm sure some people are probably listening. So water's an issue. It's going to continue to be an issue. And I'm going to be frank, I don't know what makes the cease and desist go away. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so if somebody wanted to get a PhD on water, you can sit down for probably a month and still not get it out. But essentially, I would say we're like in the 11th hour. The desal project, they say, is proceeding with the mitigated list. All of the state and federal approvals have been put in place, but they're not there yet. We get most of our water from MW1, and they recycle our sewage, and they get water from the farmers, and that all may be changing, but a significant percentage, is about 60%, comes through MW1 to provide the potable water we all need. The cease and desist was in 1995 and still remains until MW1 can prove that they have sustainable water for a long period of time. And so all the cities have requested that the state water resources please mitigate, lift the cease and desist, and give us relief so we can get housing. They have not yet said a word. It's been crickets for 6 months since all the cities on the peninsula sent that letter and that request. So we don't know what they'll do, but the long story is it's all coming together with some changes relatively soon, and I would say Cal-Am might be breaking ground next year or later this year. MW1 may get a contract with the farmers to continue having sustainable water. So all of that is good evidence. The state water resources will give us some relief, and I could say within 18 months to 2 years we might start seeing the ability to issue permits and some amount of water meters for building. And the city of Monterey's housing for issuing building permits is first priority is housing. Housing is the first need. Business would probably come second, but we have a definite pent-up demand on the business side and a definite need on the housing side. So stand by and watch, but read everything you can find on water, because it's a day-to-day changing scenario.
So, again, thank you for that. Again, I don't know what the timeline is, a realistic timeline, but I will say this. Let's just say lightning strikes tomorrow. Someone lifts the cease and desist. Now we've got water. Okay, you've done one hurdle. Now the next hurdle for me is to use that water allocation as smartly as you can. Clearly, workplace housing has to be real close to the top of the list, because we are hospitality and tourism. That's what we are, okay? For better or for worse. And these poor people doing $20 an hour labor, they can't afford to be here. So they have to spread out. So I think that needs to be addressed. So if I were in that chair, I would steer toward, let's really sit down now and figure out how we're going to do this. The term affordable housing, I kind of cringe when I hear that, and I'll tell you why. I'm all for affordable housing. When I built this 135-unit building, I told Mayor Albert that I would be, if I could get the permit, I would be happy to have 20% of those units low to moderate income, and he was very happy about that. Because there's a need for that. Not everybody can afford $10,000 a month. Not everybody can. So we have to create spaces as developers or builders or brokers to feed that need. So workplace housing would be a big deal. There was something else I was going to say, and I completely blanked. What was it? Go ahead.
What did Tyler
When he did what?
When did Tyler promise Monterey residents that he has not?
I hate pointed questions, and I'll tell you why, because I've already said it. I'm going to say it again, because I do not want to be misunderstood. I consider Tyler a friend of mine. He probably doesn't consider me a friend anymore, but hopefully we'll get past that. In his campaign, there were things that he wanted to accomplish. I can point to the rental registry, and the deal there was, as I understood it, was we know it's expensive to rent in Monterey. And if we can put a program in place that can kind of monitor where your rents are, and we'll keep an eye on the landlords, we're probably going to get your rents to go down somewhat. Don't know how much. But now after 2 years of the program, council just gave a report, or someone gave it, staff gave it.
Staff gave a report.
And it showed that we spent about $800,000 administering the thing. I'm not sure how much we collected.
So we're at about 83% collected from the owners of the properties that register, and we spend from a department side inside short of $300,000. However, that's staff time, and that's a staff priority because that's one of their work plans. And so the report gave us everything we already knew, and there's not that many out-of-town property owners. So I would encourage, if you really want to know, there is an excellent report on the city website, and it's called Rental Registry. It's very long, lots of charts. Bottom line is there were no surprises there, and the rents were trending up for periods of time, depending on if you had 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, those were more, and the lower ones were still going up slightly, but post-COVID, all rents have gone up dramatically. And the rental registry didn't really show, personally, this is my perspective, did not give me compelling evidence to continue it, nor did it give me any data points that could say I could use this and I could bring a significant impact to lower rents or create more housing. So I saw it as a program. In light of the deficits, we're looking for programs that don't make any sense to continue, and that would be one for me.
Yeah, and to answer your question, I kind of feel bad because it wasn't thought through from a business perspective. This is what I mean by that. Landlords are not stupid people. They didn't get to be landlords by being stupid, unless they inherited. But they saw what was coming. And actually, Tyler and I in Sicily, this was the time that was, we had some pretty strenuous disagreements, polite disagreements. I mean, we never screamed at each other. But what happened on the landlord side is they kind of sensed what was going on. They were going to be handled. They were going to be managed on their own private properties. They did a defensive move and they increased their rents because they sensed that rent control was probably right around the block. So it didn't work out. So I would point to that one. If it costs the city $500,000 to administer that program, if it were me, I would have said, and just I'm speaking out of turn now. I would have taken the $300,000 or $500,000 and put it and allocated to something I think is important. We could have taken that $300,000 or $500,000 and maybe used it to go around each of our schools and harden those school sites to make them more safe, because there's a bunch of wackos nowadays. And you know, I'm sensitive to little kids that can't defend themselves, so I probably would have. That would have been my fault.
Well, the rental registry is paying for itself now. That has been
The
set
report
up.
doesn't show it.
Yeah, it does.
It really doesn't.
It does.
Take another look.
I was there. I was
So
there.
was I.
I have a question. Is the plan registry that was designed as a land for the I do it as California or did double rent control class.
Didn't hear
Do they
her.
plan, Ed? Do they plan?
We can't hear.
Ed, is there any plans to let go of the rental registry? Is there any plans to not continue it?
Not until there's a majority vote on the council.
And is that going to be on a vote at any time soon or anything like that?
Pretty much, there was signaling the other night when we got the report, and I can tell you that the majority would want to continue the rental registry. The minority would
I
not.
don't know if anybody here can explain what exactly it's for. If it's not for rental control, what is the reason for it?
That's a great question to ask those that voted for it, which is Mayor Tyler White said, Dr. Barber, and Gino Garcia. I did not vote for it, and Jean Rash was not there when it came in, and she would not vote for it again. Because right now the majority of the council wants to continue with rental registry program. So if there was a change on the council, that is one thing that could easily be reconsidered. Could trim it down to modify the scope, could end it completely. It would depend on the preference of the council at the time in the future. But personally, I think that there are several programs that I would like to pause, and we have a whole bunch of positions that are funded but not filled. 68 positions in the city that has a tremendous amount of money set aside for. We need to go through those positions to determine which ones we should not fill. And that's the solution to try and solve the deficit, is programs and personnel get you to the results you need to redefine the budget going forward. And we're not there yet. And so I am fearful that others on the council are not going to want to eliminate some programs, nor will they want to let go of the positions that we have. So it's going to be an interesting budget process going forward unless others are willing to collapse some programs that are not beneficial and get rid of vacant positions that we have money for. There's $7.2 million sitting in the checking book for assigned funding for positions that are vacant. So the whole budget needs to go in with the mindset, and I think what Vince is talking about is an examination of personnel and programs to define essential services to get us back to a balanced budget and get rid of a structural deficit. And it's programs and personnel.
Yeah, it's not just a rental registry. I don't want to focus on that. There are other things that we could look toward to handle this deficit. I mean, 65 unfunded staff positions, and there's $5 or $6 million in the checkbook. Here's another one I don't like. The neighborhood associations here are a big deal, a real big deal. And I think there's 15 of them, and each have their own little political biases, and the talk now is to patch this budget. Over the years, these neighborhood associations put in for projects for their neighborhoods, and they're allocated money. And some of those projects actually get funded and approved by the city. Well, the talk now is we need money. So we're going to go to the neighborhood associations. We're going to take money that we approved and voted that you can have rightfully and take that money from you.
That's to postpone the money.
Yeah, no.
It's not to take the money, it's to postpone it.
No, let me correct you. It's to take the money that's there now and then postpone it to other years. That's
right,
correct.
Because we have a deficit now that was created by previous administrations not setting aside funds for any infrastructure while they were adding infrastructure.
I agree with you there. But
the NCIP money that you're talking about has been used in the past for that, and the projects that were postponed were getting done.
Yeah, so it's not intended to be used for that.
No, it's not, but we weren't intended to have a pandemic either, and that money saved our city.
No, it may not have, but everybody struggled through the COVID thing.
Yeah, but the city would not.
But that's not why we're in the deficit. COVID didn't cause the deficit.
No, the reason we're in the deficit is because there was never any money put aside for infrastructure maintenance.
There's $8 million in that pot right now, and the mayor's suggesting he wants it all.
No, there's only money in there now because when he was elected, they created a reserves fund.
Sure.
There was no money there before,
there is now.
And we have money that we need to spend on infrastructure.
Let's do Q&A and see what everybody else wants to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't want me to say that. It's fact.
Sure he does. That's not a fact.
Yeah, it is.
That's your interpretation.
No, I've been at many more council
God
meetings
bless
than the
you.
majority of
God
you
bless
guys,
you.
and
That's
that
great.
is fact.
Truth is that you know that Tyler proposed an $8 million take
But
from
you're
the
not saying
NCIP.
it. Why aren't you saying
And that's
it?
not what he. That was
Because
not what
that
he was
money
allowed to.
wasn't there.
It doesn't matter. The money is there now. I don't care about then. I'm talking about.
So
there's
you
$8
wanted-
million-
you're talking about taking reserves
No, what
money?
I'm talking about is taking that pot of money right now.
Reserves.
That pot of money that's been approved, Tyler wants it all.
No, you're talking about NCIP money.
Tyler wants that bucket of money.
But are you talking about NCIP money or reserves?
Doesn't matter.
Two different things.
I'm talking about. You're talking about reserves in the future.
No, I'm talking about now.
There's a pot of money that I'm aware of that Tyler has requested to take.
Are you talking about NCIP money?
Yes.
Or are you talking about reserves? They're two different pots of
Doesn't
money.
matter. Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
We don't want to hear all that.
Yeah.
We want to ask questions.
Well, that's fact.
She's
though.
here. She's here for Tyler, and that's okay. She has
No,
the right
I'm
to
here
do it.
because I want to hear what is going to be said that is inaccurate.
Great question.
There is no inaccuracies here.
Can I propose that Vince has got a website and he'll take questions from anybody that wants to go deeper and further? Let's reserve this time before it rains. Any other? We want questions.
I don't want to
Vince.
stifle her because she has the right to ask questions. Yes,
What is the deficit? I don't
10
know.
to 12 million
10 to
dollars.
12 million. And I heard you suggest, bringing in more business through the Chamber of Commerce. Have you done any more thinking on other ideas? I have some.
That I would love to hear your ideas because I'm still going through that. In other words, how to correct the revenue side.
An important part.
That's an important-
Without taking maybe away
No,
from other programs.
no, that's an
and things
important.
that-
That's an important piece. My only thing about bringing that up was that I don't think you should take money away from people that have rightfully gotten it.
And I think what you're saying is that because the NCIP program with those 15 neighborhoods, by charter, they have an institutional and a legal right to that money to be able to use for our neighborhoods through that NCIP process. And I think that's where the sensibilities are, where let's not start taking money to solve our problems. Let's figure out a way to spend less.
I agree. Not to spend less. That's the first order of business. You can't give away $200,000 if you just got asked for $125. That's a hell of a deal. I would have taken that deal.
That
But
came
it's just
from
not.
the
It's
rental
just not.
registry.
It's just not working through the issues. It's not having management skills enough to say, I need to think about this. It doesn't matter that I have my own personal agendas. What's best for the community, and that wasn't a smart move. Ask me something good and hard. These are softballs. Softballs.
Anybody live in Skyline Forest?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen any noticeable improvement in the roadway?
Yes.
Roadway work? So are you familiar with Measure S? Okay, so you voted for it 7 years ago, well, 6.5 years ago, and that's the one that is on top of the sales tax that gives us the money we need for taking care of the roadways, the drainage systems at the curbs and gutters, and then handicap access sidewalks. So that is Measure S, and it'll come up for renewal probably in November, and that's about a $12 million a year funding that goes directly, not in the general fund, in a special account that must be used on roadway work in the city of Monterey. So a lot of people forgot that they voted for it, and that was 6.5 years ago. It renews, it sunsets in 7 years, which is coming up next year. So that'll be on the ballot in November. And that's an example of how we separate from the special funds and from the general fund, so that the city council cannot use that money for anything other than what it's designated for.
And that's an important distinction. You can only use it for its intended purpose. You can't. You know what I've noticed in Skyline though, because we're all worried about fire up there.
Right.
They're doing their whatever you call it, forest maintenance or whatever.
Forest threat.
But they're leaving all this wood in the. It's like a sawmill. And it's kind of like you cut the tree down, but you left it there, and there's got to be a better way to do that. How about a hard one? Liz, ask me a question.
My biggest
Time's up.
Time's up. My biggest concern is some of the spending that didn't really make sense. Might have been a good idea. Maybe makes sense. Got a lot of potholes. I think we could fix before we painted the sidewalk. I mean, crosswalks. That big whatever that was by the post office. That now looks like a mini park that we can't get through.
That was the biggest joke I've ever seen.
I mean, I don't know what that was for. It seemed like a lot of money for something that really wasn't necessary.
Again, I don't know how the city picks and chooses its
I
projects.
understand that, but those are our concerns for the going future.
The traffic because of that is so dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
It's like
Especially when
the
the kids are coming out
brainchild
of
of
school.
that.
That intersection is bad. It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think there could be better ways to spend the money in the future.
Yeah, and there was some funding for that, but it was about $175,000 city money. And the goal was because the school had a concern for the students coming down through into the downtown. And our loss was we lost our drop-off mailbox to pull up. And so I think I've heard that a lot.
And well, besides that, it backs up so far.
Yeah, it still does.
The traffic, so nobody went there and timed it at 5 o'clock the right day. It's poor management.
Yeah. But I think to turn that question to what Vince is running on, because I've spent some time with Vince, is that we can't ignore the things that come to us, to the council, on agendas, conversations with the city manager. We have to all be fully engaged and notice these things because they have a direct impact to our residents. So it's someone with experience that knows how to read every single page of 350-page agenda, that doesn't rush through anything, and the efficiency of the meetings. We start at 4 o'clock, there's no reason why we should ever go to 11 o'clock. So the time management for running the meetings and paying attention to the little things matter. But maybe you could address how you perceive your style as how you would run with the gavel and run a meeting.
I just think that when you post an agenda, you should stick to it, and you shouldn't allow any individual or organization to come up there instead of their 2 minutes, they talk for 2 hours because they're allowed to. That's kind of an unfair proposition. So I think once an agenda is actually published, you should kind of stick to it. If it says start at 4, don't start at 4:05. If you're not there 15 minutes early, you're 20 minutes late. That's how I was raised. You got to be professional. You just can't run into a meeting, and then you just can't extend it out to 11:30. I'm in bed by 9:30, so that'll change right away. Again, the issue is I'm never ever going to play the blame shame game. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. We need fixes. And what I see, unfortunately, in the last couple of administrations is knee-jerk reactions to issues that pop up. You know, not thoughtful. Let's slow down, take a deep breath. Let's find out where the pitfalls are, because there's pitfalls and everything. And then let's address them with a calm hand, a steady hand. Don't put bubble gum on this thing like they've been doing for the last 8 years. I mean, I don't know, frankly, how you can report to the public that you have a balanced budget when you know you don't. But they're taking funds from here, they're putting them over there. They're grabbing, everything's a slush fund. It's not the way it's supposed to work. There are tranches of money for different programs, and those have been established. That should be cut and dry. Follow your own rules. You know, you can't just say, I met with the hotel people. They're very pissed off. They raise most of our money. But they're treated like the redheaded stepchild. As soon as the city goes into financial crisis, they go running to them and saying, we got to do something about the TOT. Well, it's already 18% on their bills now. That's high. That's high. So you can't run a community like there's slush funds. These are public dollars. The council doesn't own them. They have to manage them. How do you get in a deficit? You spend more than you have. Not one of you can do that at home. Try it. try it. Not one of you in business can do that in your businesses. You'll go belly up, just like that. My thing is this. You have to be fully engaged in this job. This is not a part-time job. This is not a 2-day-a-week ride up, run into the chamber and do a meeting. This is a full-time position. Why? Because it deserves that. Okay? That's my dedication to the city. My philosophy is I've got to walk the project. When I was building things, you can't know what's going on your own project if you're not physically engaged. So a developer mentor of mine said, Vinny, if you want successful developments, you got to get off your ass, get out of your office, get a yellow notepad, and go walk that site before any workers get there. And I did that. And that's how I got lucky and lightning struck and I was successful. Because I was writing those checks, not the city. That was my money. I had to pay that money back. So I'll be walking the site, and the site is the city of Monterey. If someone says to me, hey, Dr. Vince, you know, you got to come and look at the sidewalk. Someone's going to get hurt, and you guys are going to get sued. I would think it's incumbent on me to at least go take a peek at it. Don't you think? I mean, just go take a peek. Bring a public works guy and say, what do you think? When's the last time you got, you know? So I'm not saying anything is doing anything wrong. Staff works their ass off. They really do. I know a lot of these people, they are working their ass off. But there's so many pieces to this puzzle we call Monterey that it's going to take time to put everything back on the shelves where it's supposed to be and then manage what you have. Don't manage what you think you're going to have in the future. That's called a budget. That's a wish list. Manage what you have right in front of you. That's where you start. If that has got X amount of water in it, that's what we have to manage. Now, our task as a majority is to fill that glass. Don't touch the water level. It's too low as it is. So I guess I'll be hands-on. I've been hands-on in everything I've done. Has that gotten me in trouble sometimes with regulators? Of course it does. Of course it does. So what? I'm the one writing the checks. It's my money. There aren't public funds. But you have to be engaged. And I think that's what I'll bring to Monterey. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
What else?
Any questions from that?
Yeah.
So,
Sir.
you have experience in construction?
Development.
Okay.
Development.
So,
in other words, I can take it.
I know when I'm trying to develop or start a business in this town, it's very difficult. It's like the hardest place to start a business in the state of California.
Great.
Even working with the building department, yeah, there's good people in there. They all like want to help. But I just hear nothing but apologies about, I'm sorry, but the system that we're working off of was built in like the 40s and the 50s, the 60s. Nothing's updated. You can do whatever you want as long as you got time and money, but you know, how much time and money does it take for me to change a system that should be working for me?
And you can't. That's a great question. Let me speak to that. Let me speak to that. When we talk about looking at all the programs and departments, building is one of them. Permitting is one of them. If you want to get a project approved here, go to City Hall because that's where your project's going to die. I don't know why. I really don't. Because you're right. Some of those guys are good, but some of them.
Well, they're outsourcing even their plan check. They're outsourcing to Santa Clara, who's significantly very tough on any plans, or just a state person going over basic statewide. There's not a person in the office that actually knows how to plan check.
My suggestion would be this, and I've done this in other communities, or have gone through this type of process. There are private companies that do plan check. They'll plan check it right now. That's all they do. And they'll get you through the stuff that you need, and there won't be excuses. It may not even cost as much money, but they're going to give you a set of stamped plans that you can bring back that you can bring back to the city and get going. But this is a common problem. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I ran into that problem back in the 80s. It was tough. And I don't know why it was so tough. I mean, some people can be so stringent and locked up in their own little gig, you know, and they don't care about what it's going to cost you. They just don't. But you're paying for their time. And when time gets extended, that's more money. So I hear you. But I think we can deal with that. Anybody else? Hey, thank you very much for coming. You guys are awesome. It's shitty weather, but this is where we live. It was beautiful 10 minutes ago. But thank you all very much.
Vince, before you leave,
yes, sir.
They don't grab the material. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you? Say your website, so we can always send you a question further.
Vince Malfitano for mayor. We have, here's the print off with the QR code.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
follow us on Facebook, please. We're active on Facebook. We can answer questions. Instagram.
And if you want to get to me, it's info@malfitanoformayor.com, and I'll answer all the emails. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vince.
I didn't need to raise my voice. I apologize. You did deserve that.
Thank you.